it's amazing to me, and I don't know if you see this as well in the clients that you're working with, that there's not that clarity of understanding. And I think that leads to knee-jerk reactions to do things that are really bad for the business, cutting all the spend or moving money into the wrong buckets or optimizing in the wrong direction from a creative perspective. So would love to get your perspective on that and whether you're seeing the same things.
Surprisingly, the economy really rebounded, and a lot of people were able to restart and sustain what I'll call kind of digital transformation efforts. And for many organizations, this took the form of kind of foundational investments in tech, CDPs, or dashboards, right, or variety of sort of different kind of platforms. And I think one of the challenges when those transformations are led by capability first thinking, where you sort of maybe run the risk of confusing the means for the ends, is that you lose when the recession hits, and you haven't wired the initiative to actually be sort of focusing on delivering some sort of quarterly return, if you will, right? Some sort of gated process to make sure that you're accountable, that your implementation is actually set up to actually return something. Then I think you run the risk of people saying, oh my God, well, we're going to cancel the whole thing. I'll give you a good example of this just to be super specific. So, first party data has been a topic of interest for folks, and for a variety of reasons, obviously death of the cookie and all this other stuff that we've talked about. And the first thing was, well, okay, first party data, I need a CDP, right? So people go out and they think platform first. And then once they have it, the emphasis is on, well, how many millions of records do I have in my CDP, right? What we've actually observed is that when you come in, you find that sort of commitment and sophistication that's been invested on the platform and on the data hasn't necessarily been matched by sort of, good practical thinking about how to leverage that data for ultimately to get the better results. So for example, you might actually have a multi-million name or record, CDP, but you might still be targeting by basically saying, well, I've got a campaign about X. Let me just go pull all the records that had anything to do with X and give that to the media partner as a lookalike audience, right? A different approach for that would actually be to try to start to do some relatively lightweight propensity modeling, so you can be more selective about picking the customers in the CDP that are most likely to respond and actually showing those to your media partners. And we found that, some of our early efforts to do that sort of thing have actually been, have shown pretty substantial lift on the order of 50% plus over what you see with a traditional targeting technique. And you don't even really need, you may need hundreds of thousands, not millions necessarily, of records to be able to start some of those simple models to do that. But that's an example. The reason I raised that one is because that's an example of where taking sort of an end-to-end perspective on what you're doing and taking a sort of a results-oriented, liftover control-oriented perspective on the investment is actually part and parcel of getting the payback on this. And without that end-to-end perspective, people are going to find that all these big initiatives sort of grind to a halt, and they're really hard to restart because there's software versions and the people understand these things come and go, and it's really hard to kind of get that motor going again when it's been sitting for a while. So
right for us, and we've seen this over the years as well. What really sets people up to make better decisions during these difficult times is to be able to be organized organizationally as well, to be able to make sure that they have the information in the right platform to then be able to make the decision necessary given the external environment. So there is a kind of a change management and organizational element to this as well.